Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Hornets Nest. My name is William Neubauer, and we're going to be talking about the booming industry of graphic design and where it is headed. Many questions will be answered, such as the concern of AI and what the current outlook is like. I'm now joined by Rebecca from Argoldi Design. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you for asking. I want to start out by talking about your experience within graphic design. How did you come to even have a career in graphic design, especially starting out when it was not that big of a business, starting out with hand design?
Well, actually, I never knew I wanted to be a graphic designer. I went to college to do something in art because, graphic design really wasn't done on the computer, and I had no idea anything about it really. So I went to school for um, like reconstructing paintings, like restoration of the old paintings was a really big thing back at that time. They don't really talk about that much more. But I did go to school for that. Realized I really wasn't good in chemistry because that is more chemistry than it is art. And so while I was in that program, I took a single class in Photoshop, and it was amazing, and I felt completely drawn to it. It's actually Photoshop 2.5. That's how long I've been doing this.
Wow. Well, what was your first project starting out with that kind of experience?
So that was really more of Photoshop, which was like back then it was all like the Inquirer, putting alien faces on people bodies and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And I found that to be really fun. But then the more classes I took, the more it became like the layout programs for pages and um, like the illustrators and the Quark Expresses and stuff like that. And that's where you start doing things like business cards and brochures. And so it kind of evolved from just photoshopping imagery to the actual like graphic design aspect of what
sure,
I do.
sure. Um, well, it sounds like you were very passionate about that alien thing, but are you are you passionate about like graphic design in the general sense? And if you are, when did that passion become true?
Yeah, no, I I can't like do anything except graphic design. That's become my hobby. It's become my career. So almost everything I do is some kind of graphic design related, or I do a little bit of art stuff, a little bit of scrapbooking. It's all kind of in the creative realm, but I really enjoy doing page layouts, like you know, taking words and creating a page with words, not necessarily the art aspect of. I guess it's just more of an organizational thing. Because there is an art to it. There really is. Like you can tell when something isn't good. It's very obvious when a person does not have
For
graphic
sure.
design skills and they put out a brochure or like a church pamphlet or something. You can tell when it's just somebody without a visual eye.
Yeah.
And so it there is an art to it. You know, less is more usually. Um, and I realized I was pretty good at spatial organization, even in a physical sense. Like I'm a clean freak, and I like to put things on the counter in just a perfect. Maybe it's OCD, but it's
Yeah,
actually just
it's a good
it
outlet.
really it really translates well to the page on the computer screen.
Exactly. I mean, it is a very good outlet. And on top of just, I mean, being passionate about it, it is pretty fun to
Yeah, it
do.
really is.
Well,
I mean, for me,
sure. Yeah. I mean, me too, personally. I love graphic design. I mean, that's why I have you here interviewing you.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
go.
I definitely want to encourage you to keep doing that because when you find a career that you love to do, even if you weren't getting paid for it, that is definitely the career line to pursue.
You want to do something that you enjoy doing, not something that you want to do because of the money.
Right, exactly. And, with graphic design, there are potentials to make a lot of money and there's a potential to not make much money. It depends on your ambition, how comfortable you are getting into the roles of like art director and stuff like that. That's never really been my niche. I just like to work independently, and I'm not trying to make $1,000 an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there's a lot of different types of jobs within the graphic design industry, and it's just a matter of trying this, trying that, and finding where your personal strengths are.
sure. Well, I want to go on to how you have your process for going about your projects. How has your design process changed over time?
Well, in the beginning, I just threw it all on the page and then sorted it out. Like, if somebody gives me some text, an image, I'll just throw all the text, all the imagery on the artboard and start playing around with it. And now I'm just like, okay, there are thousands of templates available that already look good. So I'm gonna, not really a template so much as I'll look at templates and be like inspired by this or that, and I'll start more with a framework and then start bringing in the elements.
Sure, they're a great way for
Um,
getting inspiration, not taking directly from,
not,
but getting inspiration so that you
yes,
can create your own work or build off of that.
yes, exactly. Because, after 30 years, it's like, okay, I don't have many creative ideas left in my head. I need to tap other people's creativity as well.
And it's
But
not a
usually,
bad thing. You just need a refresher sometimes.
yes, and you really do end up with something uniquely your own. But sometimes it's good to start with the template and say, okay, well that didn't work, and remove it. Just kind of refine down from something like that. And I don't do that with everything. It really, if somebody doesn't have a lot of time or doesn't have a lot of content, there's a lot of white space to fill. And sometimes templates come with a lot of graphics that can fill that white space. Most of my clients are not really, they don't have a lot of text. It's just a few bullet points, and try to fill a brochure with a few bullet points is not an easy task.
No. Well, speaking of clients, how do you find your clients for work that you do?
Most of my clients have been referred by other clients. So I had, I worked at a church for a while, and one of the ladies that actually volunteered ended up, after I left that church, we remained friends, and she started working for an Amish man, and he needed some things done graphic design wise because they don't really have the capability of doing that outside of a few small companies. And so I got in with one. When you get in with one Amish person, you tend to get in with the whole community because they refer you, and so on.
Definitely.
So my network has been, you know, my core network has been like just word of mouth and referrals, and it's branching out. And then, they actually will refer me into regular, so I don't want to say regular, that doesn't sound right, but regular people society.
No, no, yeah,
um,
more mainstream, more opportunities. I get what you mean. I
right,
mean, once you have that one
right,
good reference, they start referring a bunch of other people to go to you to get their work done, and it starts expanding and
right,
expanding and expanding, and then you get more mainstream and possibly bigger.
right. And so most of my clients are that. Now I do have a separate business where I sell on the internet, not just templates that I design, but also stickers that I design and cut. And all of that has just been slow growth from the beginning, repeat customers coming back every year for more and more and more. So it just kind of snowballs. If you're really good in the beginning and you have a very happy client, it can grow amazing. And it can almost like, I'm almost to the point where I probably need to hire somebody like you or somebody, to help me with some of the work, because, it does become you become very successful very fast
For sure.
when you do good work.
Sure. You start out very small. I mean, at the beginning, who you don't have a bunch of people that are coming to you for their work. You got to find those people. You got to reach out,
Right.
and then once that
And
happens, once you get enough good feedback, you start getting more and more and more people.
right. And it's important to remember in the beginning of your career, if you want to be freelance, especially, if you want to be freelance, the phrase "don't quit your day job."
Definitely.
I had a part-time job, and I outgrew the part-time job, because I had more and more freelance clients coming, and eventually it's just, okay, don't have any more time to work this job. I have to go full time freelance, and it actually worked out timing wise because that business was ending at the same time I was growing. So I transitioned nicely into a set of clients that paid the bills basically.
Yeah. Well, going back to those clients that had like templates that didn't have too much on them and all that, how do you go about a project like that when you don't have that many instructions or you don't have much to go off of? How do you like, counter that?
Well, a lot of times, the client expects you to be, to wear multiple hats. They want you to do the copywriting, and so hopefully you've got a whole skill set like photography and copywriting and such. Like, it's always good to have added skills along with your graphic design skills because they will come in handy. So, when they don't give me much direction, that means they're comfortable with me and they're comfortable with my whatever I put out there for them. Usually it becomes a process of I create something out of nothing. I will go and research what they do, um, and then I'll find my own bullet points and text. And now, I mean, I haven't really used the AI much, but AI is a great source of generating like a paragraph here or there to add to the content. And most of the time, when I create the content, um, they they don't do many changes. Some are more picky than others. Most of the time, if they don't give you much instruction, it's because they're not as fully invested in the outcome. I don't
That
know if
makes
that makes
sense.
any sense, but
No. That does make sense. I mean, it also depends on when you are not getting that much instructions. Like if it's their first time, then obviously they don't care too much
right.
about it. But if it's a repeat customer, then they feel comfortable with you. But going back to the point
Yeah,
on AI,
and
sorry,
oh,
I
sorry.
don't mean to cut you off. I'm kind of running short
No,
on
you're
time,
fine.
unfortunately.
You're
But
fine.
how do you think AI will affect your job? And going forward, how do you think the job outlook would be?
I think that AI is a good tool. I think it could be beneficial to graphic designers. I don't know that it should take over completely because people do see it's not as good, and people look at it and they're like, "Oh, that's AI." While there's something that's very impressive about it, it doesn't have that human quality. Um, so maybe eventually down the road it'll get better, and but it will never replace art or graphic design from a person's mind, and you'll always be able to tell the
I mean, that's comforting that knowing that AI will
difference.
probably never get to the point to where it will overtake this job. I don't personally either. I don't see AI getting to a point where it could replace this job. AI can't do the things that a human could think of and create. There's always going to be some imperfections. Granted, there will be imperfections with whatever a human makes as well, but those imperfections could be like imperfectly imperfect. With AI, they're just
Right,
there. You can tell it's a mistake.
right. Or it's too perfect.
Exactly, exactly. Well, going forward
Yeah.
from that, how do you think the job outlook would be? Like, do you think
I
that would be
think
growing or
I think what I have witnessed over, my career has been a lot of transition to web based, but I'm also now starting to feel a shift back to print. So everything was, all the paper in the world was set to disappear and everything was going to go online, and
That's
people
coming
just
back
don't
full
want that.
circle almost.
I think, like, even, it's kind of a stupid comparison, but even like record albums, they're supposed to go away completely to the digital world, but now everybody wants albums again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think people don't want to lose paper and printed things. And so I'm starting to see the transition back to printed stuff, which means I think there's hope for this field for sure.
Well, that's good. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you. That's pretty much all the questions I had for you. But that's good that there's a positive outlook for this industry. But thank you very much for your time.
Of course.
I'm sure that your answers will help a lot of people, especially me, decide like a future career in this industry. So again, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, take care.